how were you able to handle the ups and downs and maybe the struggle chasing those victories when the results weren't coming, but you're getting to live the dream driving, but had to be really hard on your mental health too.
Yeah, I mean, I had to work very hard for getting where I am today, and I think that's helped. That mental side. I had to, even from an early age, work a lot. I remember sitting and looking at the phone catalog that we had back then, like just
Yeah.
picking out different companies in my hometown, and I would call every single one of them and try and get them to sponsor me, and like all those things. Going out as a 15-year-old, going out to a company and speak to the CEO and trying to present like, hey, I'm a racing driver and I want to do this. Like all those kinds of things, I think built a big mental strength throughout my early part of my life. And then you go through your career as a racing driver, and that's the thing with racing is one guy is winning and there is 30, 40, 50 guys that's not winning, and that's a mental side that you need to be very strong mentally to handle that and know how to use that to sort of drive you forward. So it's definitely been, it's been tough days. I went 8 years without winning a race when I went through my Formula 1 years and I came over to IndyCar. It was 8 years between winning and winning. And those 8 years was definitely extremely mentally tough for me to go through because I'm a competitor. I want to win. But I came out on the other side and then, are winning regularly again.
It's just so cool to hear that story. So thank you for sharing that one. But you talk about the 8 years of losing and not winning a race and like struggling. Was there a rock bottom, a depression, anxiety that filled or built up inside of you during those years?
That's a good question because during those years, I remember very specifically my last year of Formula 1. I did 5 years of Formula 1, and Formula 1 is, the biggest racing series in the world. It's every kid's dream to be a Formula 1 driver, and I had reached my dream, everyone's dream, and I was doing it. And my last year there, I was going to races, and I would sit there and think to myself, I'm not enjoying going here to the race. And like, I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not enjoying? This is like the dream that I'm living, and I'm not enjoying it. And it was really tough to sort of figure out what was going on for me. And I think that also drove me to coming here to America because I needed a fresh start. I was sort of in a very downward spiral where I was not really enjoying what I was doing. And it was really tough mentally for me to go to those races and not feeling like, I really felt almost guilty to not enjoying something that should be the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was a depression or not. I'm not sure, but it was definitely mentally tough. And I sort of decided to break it up and go all the way to the other side of the world and go to America and try my career out here. And then it really gave me a fresh start.
Did you feel like you could tell your parents or friends or colleagues on the track about how you were feeling? Because the stigma around mental health, I think we're about the same age. Like when we were growing up, you didn't talk about it at all. Did you feel like you could voice that? Did you talk to, anyone about how you were feeling?
No, it is a stigma around. And I think in sports in general and racing in general, people don't really like to talk about it. People like to think it's a weakness to talk about it. I think it's the opposite. I think it's a strength to talk about it. But yeah, back then when I was going through that, I was not really sharing it so much. I did start to share it with my trainer who was with me on races and stuff, and he helped me a lot because it was a relief to actually talk about it.
Yeah.
Like I'm struggling to enjoy this, and it did help, but it's definitely that stigma around it, which is it's not good.
When you moved to America to get that fresh start, you're still racing, you're still chasing that dream, but what did it do to help you mentally, where you were able to obviously have more success on the track, but personally you go through that, struggle period with your mental health and not winning on the track? How did it kind of give you that fresh start? Were there different people you met, just getting a new scenery? What really sparked it for you?
Yeah, it was, a new scenery, a new sort of, I felt like a fresh page, and like I was getting somewhere where people didn't really know my past that much. So it was sort of a fresh start and new people to work with. But it was definitely hard. Like even when coming here to America, I think it took a good year and a half where I felt like I was back in sort of the way I was before almost,
Right.
like mentally strong and believing in myself, because I felt like I lost a ton of confidence during those years when I was not successful, and that was tough to go through, and it was tough to turn it around still,
Yeah.
because it's one thing to say it's another thing to actually
Do it.
do it and believe it, and that took a while for me.